Take a moment to consider. Is what brings you apparent satisfaction truly what your soul craves? Every time your fingers mechanically scroll through an endless newsfeed, do you not question the authenticity of this activity? Each time you open a new page on the internet, drawn in by its allure, do you not feel a slight disappointment in recognizing the fleeting nature of this entertainment? Every time you satiate hunger without truly feeling it, when laughter escapes your lips without genuine joy, when consumption becomes an end in itself, who is truly deriving pleasure from this process? Is it you or the complex system that has subtly conditioned you to seek instant gratification? The truth can be painful. Perhaps you have been programmed for a perpetual chase after pleasure that always remains unattainable. And the most alarming aspect of this is that you may not even realize it. We live in an era where pleasure seems more accessible than ever, but why is it never enough? Aldous Huxley, a visionary of his time, foresaw this situation almost a century ago. He warned us that true control would be exerted not through direct oppression, but through the artificial creation of pleasure. Not through brute force, but through skillful distraction. He predicted a world in which there would be no need to ban books, because people would lose interest in reading and learning on their own. A world where the truth would not be hidden, but buried under mountains of meaningless information and entertainment. A world where people would not need to be forcibly controlled, because they would become slaves to their own addictions and dependencies. So here he is, the individual, finding himself in the brave new world created by Huxley's imagination. In this world, as if by the wave of a magic wand, every desire is fulfilled in an instant. Satisfaction reaches its peak with incredible speed, yet only multiplies in all-consuming emptiness in return. Pleasure, in its essence, has ceased to be a deserved reward, transforming into an outright drug. For this is precisely what has happened to pleasure. It has been transformed into a subtle mechanism of mind control. It seems to the individual that he possesses complete freedom, for he is free to choose what to consume. But who is truly making this choice, when each offered option is meticulously designed to lure him into a cunning trap? One need only look around and pay attention to the countless stimuli desperately vying for his precious attention. Every notification, every sound, every bright flash of color, all of this is nothing more than a trap, cleverly disguised as entertainment. The immediate gratification has become a new form of dictatorship. Instead of punishing, the individual is entertained. Instead of suppressing, he is constantly stimulated. Instead of being locked in a cage, he is surrounded by a multitude of options that ultimately paralyze his will. And that is precisely why people are increasingly lost in fleeting pleasures, failing to notice how their real lives are gradually collapsing before their very eyes. This is a true addiction, and as with any other form of addiction, people are not seeking pleasure itself, but merely the next dose. Food is no longer simply food, it is dopamine, cleverly disguised in the form of sugar and fat. Social media has ceased to be a means of communication, transforming into a source of artificial sparks of approval. The content that the individual consumes no longer serves an educational function, but serves merely as mental anesthesia. In modern society, the misconception that the pursuit of pleasure is the main goal of existence has taken root. However, as Aldous Huxley insightfully noted, the real threat to humanity lies not in direct oppression, but in skillful distraction. The problem is that each portion of readily available pleasure gradually erodes the individual's ability to experience genuine joy. There is a disturbing trend. Children are losing the ability to concentrate on reading, preferring to spend hours watching short videos. Adults, in turn, find no solace in silence, striving to fill every minute of their time with meaningless noise. Interpersonal relationships suffer as the effort required to maintain them seems unjustified when instant gratification is just a click away. Readily available pleasures undermine the will to fight for what is truly valuable, because the most significant sources of joy in life require considerable effort. The problem lies not in pleasure itself, but in the ease with which it is attained. In the modern world, love is increasingly becoming disposable due to the vast choice of partners. People abandon the pursuit of great goals as immediate gratification has become more accessible. The constant feeling of dissatisfaction arises from the fact that fleeting pleasures are unable to fill the inner void. Thus, pleasure becomes a dangerous weapon. It distracts a person from real life, causes addiction, and deprives them of the ability to experience true joy. A person finds themselves trapped in an endless pursuit of something that will never bring complete satisfaction. The problem lies not in pleasure itself, but in the price one has to pay for it. The question is whether a person is willing to continue paying for fleeting pleasures, sacrificing their present and future in the process. However, the most insidious trap lies not in the addiction to hedonistic pleasures themselves, but in the deceptive notion of their necessity. From a young age, we have been taught that eudaimonia is synonymous with pleasure, while overlooking the importance of being able to cope with the monotony of existence. We were not prepared for periods of emotional emptiness, nor were we explained that a truly worthwhile existence is not a kaleidoscope of bright moments, but rather a chain of overcoming obstacles. The modern world persistently promotes the idea that everything should be exciting, simple, and enjoyable. As a result, when faced with difficulties, there's a feeling that something is wrong. If the learning process does not bring immediate satisfaction, we abandon it. If problems arise in a relationship, we break it off without hesitation. If the implementation of a project requires significant effort without quick returns, we postpone it indefinitely. This is because modern culture has accustomed us to impatience, made us perceive discomfort as a mistake, and run away from emptiness instead of understanding its meaning. As a result, we are witnessing the formation of a society in which people are unable to withstand even minor disappointments, need constant stimulation to avoid confronting their own thoughts, fill every pause with noise, equate comfort with happiness, and ultimately become even more unhappy than ever before. This is the greatest paradox of modernity. The easier it becomes to access fleeting joys, the harder it is to find true happiness. The human brain, which evolved in conditions of pleasure scarcity, is unprepared for a continuous stream of rewards. In a situation where every moment is filled with enjoyment, the sharpness of perception is lost, and nothing seems special anymore. When satisfaction comes instantly, the very process of achieving a goal is devalued, and the ease of being deprives life of deep meaning. And yet, modern society is steadily increasing the dose of entertainment, striving for another portion of dopamine, a new video, message, or stimulus that can momentarily rid us of the feeling of inner emptiness. However, the most frightening thing is that these amusements not only deprive a person of happiness, but also undermine their ability to think critically. After all, a mind enslaved by fleeting pleasures loses the ability to analyze deeply and ask questions. From a social management perspective, this is a brilliant move. By entertaining, divert attention from what is happening, and deprive people of the ability to perceive reality consciously. I recall times when I could focus on solving a complex problem for hours without feeling the obsessive need to check my phone. When boredom did not cause panic and attention did not break down into thousands of fragments. All of this is irrevocably in the past, as every application, every social network, and every entertainment platform is designed with one goal in mind: to hack the user's brain, deprive them of concentration, teach them to react to impulses rather than deliberate decisions, and turn them from a conscious creator into a passive consumer. Someone who is deprived of the ability to concentrate inevitably faces difficulties in learning. The inability to withstand monotony deprives a person of the opportunity for deep reflection. The lack of clarity of thought, in turn, hinders the ability to ask questions, which is the most important goal of personal development. An authoritarian regime becomes unnecessary when society is absorbed in entertainment and shows no interest in critical analysis. Censorship loses its relevance if citizens do not seek to question anything. Shackles become unnecessary when people voluntarily confine themselves to cages woven from readily available pleasures. Aldous Huxley presciently foresaw that attachment to slavery would be our fate. However, this will not be imposed slavery, but a voluntary choice, disguised under the guise of freedom. How is such an effect achieved? Through excessive saturation with information and entertainment. We have been convinced that freedom lies in the possibility of choice, but by providing countless options, we are actually deprived of genuine power. We choose from thousands of TV shows, none of which bring satisfaction. We sort through thousands of musical compositions, not finding the time to fully enjoy any of them. We choose from a vast number of potential partners, but each relationship turns out to be more superficial than the last. There is an illusion of expanding opportunities, but in reality there is only an increase in the number of distractions. In an era of universal superficiality, speed, and easy replaceability of things, genuine value is lost, and nothing really matters. This is the insidious trap of a society oriented towards hedonism. Instead of the promised freedom, it only weakens the individual. The more an individual is attached to the pursuit of immediate pleasures, the less strength they have to overcome discomfort. And it is discomfort that is the foundation of personal growth. It is impossible to achieve success without diligence and labor. Love is unthinkable without sacrifice, and achieving a goal is always associated with some pain. However, modern society seems interested not in the development of the individual, but in their unbridled consumption. After all, a person who has gone through difficulties and trials becomes stronger and more resilient. Someone who is able to resist discomfort gains independence and self-reliance. And an individual who knows how to delay gratification represents a serious force because they are no longer attracted to the cheap and primitive pleasures that the system offers. In this regard, a key question arises. Who controls the mind of a person today? Themselves or their addiction to pleasure? The first step towards regaining lost freedom is not to abandon the phone, delete applications, or escape from temptations. The main thing is to realize that pleasure itself is not a problem, but what matters is the relationship that a person has with it. If an individual is able to control their desire for immediate gratification, then they gain control over their own life. The ability to resist instant gratification opens the way to creating something truly meaningful and lasting. And the ability to endure boredom becomes the starting point for genuine thinking and deep reflection. Enjoyment itself is not the enemy. The real enemy lies in the vulnerability it creates when a person does not know how to manage it. Therefore, at the moment when the need arises for another way to distract from business, it is worth asking yourself, who is making the decisions here? If an individual is able to curb their desire for immediate satisfaction, they gain control over their own life. The ability to resist fleeting whims opens the way to creating something truly significant. The ability to endure monotony and boredom stimulates genuine thinking. For again, it is not pleasure that is dangerous, but the weakness that arises from the inability to manage it. Therefore, feeling the need to escape from reality, it is necessary to ask yourself who is in charge here. After all, if it is not the person themselves, then the reins of government are in someone else's hands. And this, undoubtedly, is the worst form of addiction. Now that this is realized, the question is not whether the individual will continue to fall into this trap. The main thing is what they intend to do, possessing this knowledge. And here lies the main danger. Awareness of the problem does not guarantee its disappearance. The pleasure that has captured a person today will not let them go with the wave of a magic wand. The brain has already been trained, patience has been exhausted, and attention has turned into disparate fragments. If decisive measures are not taken, then the fate of the majority is inevitable. This is the ingenious idea of the system, to convince a person that understanding the problem is equivalent to solving it. But this is just an illusion. Knowledge not supported by action is just another form of distraction. So what will you choose? Close this video and continue to live as before, as if nothing happened? Or take control of your life and become the master of your destiny? It's not about turning into an ascetic or giving up all the joys of life. It's about developing the most valuable skill a person can have: self-control. This is the ability to stop in time, say a firm no, break out of the vicious circle before it's too late. After all, if a person does not learn to control their desires, then they will certainly take possession of them. Let me open your eyes to the truth that is often hushed up. Those who reach the heights of success, creating something significant and leaving an indelible mark on history, are not always gifted with exceptional talent, intelligence, or luck. Their triumph lies in the ability to curb their desires, refusing fleeting pleasures and accepting the challenge of difficult tasks. These outstanding personalities are not born with ready-made qualities of a winner. They forge themselves daily by making choices that others find impossible, firmly saying no to temptations, and mastering the art of doing what is necessary, not what is pleasant. So, the next time you feel an overwhelming urge to indulge in fleeting pleasure, pause, stop for a moment, and feel that impulse. Recognize its nature. It is merely a shackle binding your mind. Ask yourself, are you ready to surrender, or do you want to regain control of your life? After all, every minor decision, every moment you reject the easy path for the important one, becomes a training exercise for your brain, strengthening your ability to control yourself. If an individual decides to start today, if they persistently repeat their actions, if they break down established frameworks, then one day they will realize they are different from the majority. They do not require constant external validation. They do not need instant gratification. They do not need shackles cleverly disguised as entertainment and pleasure, because they are their own master. And when that moment arrives, when they regain lost control, the system will no longer be able to exert its former influence. Pleasure will cease to be a numbing drug and will regain its true essence. It will become a deserved reward, not a prison that restricts their freedom. Therefore, let everyone ask themselves, are they willing to remain slaves to fleeting pleasures, or will they find the courage to take an action that only a few dare to reject them? Let everyone who is ready to take their life into their own hands comment, I am taking control. After all, if they can do this, if they can publicly commit to this obligation, then they will have already taken the first, most important step on the path to freedom. And if this message has made them think about themselves, if it has awakened something within them, let them join those who strive for true freedom. Here they will not be offered easy paths and empty promises. Here they will face reality. And reality, even if it sometimes causes pain, is the only path to true, genuine